Hi, it's Cheryl from All Over Fitness. Are you in survival mode or are you thriving? Because you know what? I meet clients and some of them are in survival mode, some of them are thriving. So that's one of the reasons that I do personal training, one-on-one, meet you at a gym for an hour, or sometimes I can do online where it's quicker, faster. I check in on you, I give you the workouts to do on your own. And the way I would train you is different based on whether you're in survival mode or whether you're thriving. If you think about it, if you're in survival mode, you're overwhelmed, you're stressed, you have too many things going on at once, you feel like a guinea pig in a wheel, or you're super depressed, you're sad. Personally, I've gone through, probably been in survival mode for the last 3 or 4 years. As some of you know, I had something happen about 4 years ago and it just devastated me. And so I've had a hard time pulling out of that. And so that's why I thought maybe I'd talk to you guys today, because even I had to deal differently with myself in the last 3 or 4 years than I would have the years before. When someone is thriving, it means they have time, they have money, they're happy, they're relaxed, they're in control, they're able to experience life. And that's kind of how I was before. I was thriving, so I was able to work out all the time. I was able to eat super clean and super healthy. If you told me to do 3, 4, 5 things at once, I could do it, right? But once you shift into that survival mode, and a lot of times when I talk to my clients and they've had trouble in the past, they've gained weight, or they've gotten hurt, or they've injured themselves, or they stopped eating healthy, or whatever it is, normally something happened. It wasn't just they woke up one day and decided, you know what, to heck with it, right? So something happened, and a lot of times that thing that happened, if I can figure out what that is, you can see how they went from thriving into survival mode. Maybe their son went to prison. Maybe someone in their life passed away. Maybe they lost their job. Maybe they got a divorce. A lot of times that's when people can't do the self-care that they need. And when you're in survival mode, you don't have the time, you don't have the money usually, and you really, a lot of times, you don't even have the motivation, because you're barely trying to survive. You're trying to figure out, do I even want to keep going, right? And if I do, how am I going to do that? So the last thing that you really can do is pay someone a bunch of money, drive 15, 20, 30 minutes to a gym, spend an hour there, drive back 15, 20 minutes home, plan your food for the week, make your meals at the beginning, spread them out. When you're in survival mode, that is not usually possible. And so as a trainer, if I meet someone and they're in survival mode right then, if I give them a list of 15 things to do, you know what they're going to do? Dude, I'm barely get out of bed today. I barely washed my hair and you want me to do all this, right? Self-care is super important, but it's also super hard when you're in survival mode. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to give you time. I'm going to give you understanding. Sometimes somebody just needs someone there to talk to them, to listen to them, and then slowly help guide them out of that survival mode. Give them tips, give them tools, kind of like a therapist, actually. They talk about personal trainers being like therapists. And a lot of times we are, because the mental and emotional things that people are going to, they affect them physically. So again, if my client's going through all this stuff going through a divorce, moving, all the top, 5, 10 stressors, I'm going to have to deal with that, because even if they do every single thing that I tell them to do, if they're stressed, they're going to be releasing cortisol. What I'm going to tell them to do is going to create more stress, which is going to create more cortisol, which is going to actually possibly make them gain weight in the long run. And so the things I might start with is try one thing to eat healthier. Maybe just tweak it a little bit. Maybe don't drink as much alcohol this week, right? Just one little thing. Something that's sustainable, something they can do. I don't want to set them up to fail, especially when they're survival mode, but give them time, give them understanding. Ask them, what do you think you can do in the next week? Because a lot of times I can tell them to do 3 things, but it might be that 4th thing that they could actually do. So got to check in with them. What do you think you can do this week? Do you think you just need to focus on taking baths this week? Do you need to focus on making money this week? Do you need to focus on maybe just eating healthy this week? Maybe just focus on walking. Sometimes people that are super depressed, they can't even get out of bed, more or less go for a walk, right? Even though those things are the best things to get them out of survival mode into thriving, it's sometimes the hardest things for them to do. So if you give them something that's impossible or too hard, they're not going to be able to do it. Maybe they can go for a 5-10 minute walk. Awesome. That's more than they were doing. Maybe they can meditate. Maybe I send them a couple meditations they can listen to when they go to sleep at night. Maybe they like to journal. Write down your feelings. See how that goes. Write down your feelings and, just start making time for little things that they actually can do. And then those little things are actually going to lead to doing more things, because those little things that they're doing are going to help them pull out of survival mode and start thriving more. If you think about it, if you have more quiet time, that's going to take you from survival mode to thriving, because you're going to be able to process, you're going to be able to think, you're going to have quiet, you're going to have time to slow things down. Meditation does that, journaling does that, things like that. They always talk about there's 3 parts, right, to your well-being: physical, mental, and emotional, right? Spiritual, sorry. Physical. Obviously, when you're stressed out, when you're in survival mode, sometimes just anything is hard. So if you can start with something a little bit physical, maybe eating a little bit healthier, maybe walking a little more. Spiritual, that's something sometimes I have to get people back into. What is your spiritual path? What have you been on? What are you looking forward to? What do you think would work for you as far as how you feel spiritually towards your higher power, towards God, towards, whatever it is that you focus on. Another thing is your mental and emotional, clarity, focus, being able to come up with ideas. A lot of times just helping someone come up with an idea helps them go a little bit more out of survival mode into thriving. Because when you can create ideas, that's a little bit more on that thriving side. When you're depressed or in survival mode or super stressed, even coming up with the idea, making a decision is hard. So by me helping you that little bit just to make a decision, which one do you want to do this week? What do you want to focus on? It kind of helps bring people out, and they feel like they actually have power. They're not overwhelmed, but they feel like they have power over what they do. So how do you kind of regain control and come out of survival mode? Number one, you have to acknowledge it. That was huge for me. I had always been together, control, ate healthy, worked out, like I had all my stuff together. And then all of a sudden, my world just stopped. And took a little while for me to acknowledge that my life was never going to be the same again. And so the first thing I do is acknowledge that and say, you know what, I can't do the things that I was doing before. I can't run 5-6 miles a day. I can't eat super clean and super healthy. Sometimes I was doing good to even eat, even get out of bed. So when you're in that situation, you just have to acknowledge, okay, I'm not thriving anymore. I'm in survival mode. And then you need to identify, okay, like what things have changed now that I'm in survival mode? Okay, here's what's changed. And I won't go through that for me right now, but you have to identify what's going on and how that's affected you. What are the things that you've stopped? What are the things that you can do now? What are the things that you just possibly can't do right now? And then once you identify the things that you can do versus the things that need to just wait until you can be a little bit better, you want to start practicing those. Practice things that are self-care. I can remember days my therapist said, Cheryl, just try to take a bath today. Just try to eat something, right? And so when you're thinking about those kind of things, are you thinking about running and working out and cycling and all that? No. But you know what? Step by step, day by day, I added one little thing on. The next day I added one more little thing on. The next day I added one more little thing on. And eventually I was taking care of myself again before I really even knew it. And so that's what I help my clients do if you're in survival mode. And my goal is to get you from that survival mode back into thriving. Things are going to happen in your life. You're going to have to still continue to figure out a way to work out. You're still going to have to eat healthy. You're still going to have to do the things that you need to do, journal, meditate, whatever it is, yoga, all that, to keep yourself healthy. Things are going to happen. And so what you want to do is try to stay on that thriving end and try not to let those things kick you into survival mode. But sometimes catastrophes just happen. We had COVID. Think how many people lost weight and ate healthy over COVID. No. The clients I saw after COVID did exactly the opposite. They drank more and they got heavier, right? And so why? Because we were in survival mode. The last thing we could do was thrive and think about, okay, what am I going to do today? You couldn't do anything. You couldn't leave the house. And so if you look at it, just that one incident, you can see where people went from thriving all of a sudden to survival mode. Am I going to die? Who in my family is going to die? Like it's survival. And a lot of people live that way day to day. And so what you want to do is you want to ultimately strive for thriving, right? Some of you guys are already thriving. you're great, everything's going good. There might be little things here and there. So if you are, hey, let's do it. Let's go. I'll show you what to do to work out. I'll give you a diet plan. We'll get going on. I'll check in with you as much as I need to. It'll be more action oriented, like, okay, here, knowledge, information, that kind of thing. Let's do it. Let's go. But for you, those of you who are in survival mode, I can still help you. Okay. Sometimes you just need an ear. You need someone to talk to. I don't know how many people I talked to whenever I was in survival mode, and it helped so much. And just by getting it out, venting about it or crying about it or whatever it was, I was able to take that bath that day. I was able to go for a walk that day because I felt just that little bit better. And slowly over time, I was back to thriving again. And so let me help you with that. Before I helped people with that, and I really didn't have the experience with it, but now I have that experience. So not only do I know what to do, I now know how it feels. And so I'm able to help you with that. So if you're in survival mode right now, holler at me. If you're thriving and you want to work out and you want to go and you want to do what you can do, holler at me. I can do both. Okay. But anyway, just wanted to let you know that you have to acknowledge and you have to realize what's your life doing right now? What path is your life taking? And then depending on that, you have to do different things sometimes, and that's okay. But you have to have compassion on yourself if you are in survival mode, and you have to love yourself, and you have to understand that at that point, that's all you can do right now, and be okay with that, and love yourself. And if you're thriving, go for it. Let's do it, okay? Thanks. Have a good day.